Hello and welcome to our SPDL 2025 draft. Um, I'm joined here by Jacob, and we are going over the rosters, kind of giving our inputs on what we think, maybe a little bit of a draft review and some predictions by the end of it. Hello, Jacob.
Hello.
So, for those who are not aware, and I'm going to assume that everyone who is watching this is aware, um,
Right. If we
dra-
put it on the YouTube, we might have an outside audience.
Absolutely. For those who are unfamiliar with draft leagues, they're in-house tournaments where you have X number of entrants, and you select Pokemon from a collective pool, typically themed around whatever the chosen theme for the league is. Our big league here is centered around Mega Pokemon, kind of open power floor here, um, and you participate over multiple weeks, and each week you have a separate opponent, and you two look at each other's drafts and counterplay each other. Really super fun stuff. This year we
Yeah,
have 32 entrants. Big league this year.
a whole actual league of 32 is up from because I believe this is the third SPDL. If I'm well, the second SPDL, but third league where a champion can be crowned. I think we had 24 last year. I think it was 24.
Somewhere
So
between
going
24 and 26. I remember we
yeah.
had two conferences just like we do this year.
Right. Yeah. So I think we decided to make the jump to the Overlords decided to make the jump to 32 this year, and we were able to fill all the spots, which was awesome. We got uh, uh, a lot of I say Silpco kind of regular mainstays, people who are in every league here. We got a group of newer people who've only been in one single leaguers, and some people this is their first league in Silpco, and hopping right in at SPDL. So
Yeah, last year the big SPDL was my second draft league. Really big jump up from the starter league, and honestly, it was really fun. We have a lot of folks who are feeling super competitive this year, and for
mhm.
good reason. Our grand prize this year is going to be a Nintendo Switch too, with a Legends EA bundled in. Everybody wants it.
Yeah, a lot. It's a lot more fancier prize. Not to knock our own microcurrency, but it's a bit heftier than your standard Silph coin prize. But yeah, a whole Switch 2 ZA bundle for the results here. So it's going to be really. I mean, everybody's going to have to bring their A game this year. We've got some really talented drafters, yeah, Pokemon experts, all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot of strong competitors. We last weekend we had our draft night, a little bit of an extended buyer's remorse, so everything is now settled throughout the week. So the 32 rosters we have is going to be it until everybody starts making their changes after the first week.
yep. So, yeah, so we're going to kind of talk about at least these standard rosters. Obviously, uh, some will these rosters will change throughout the weeks. People will drop off what they think is dead weight or make adjustments to their team as they find out. Oh, turns out I don't have an answer to X strategy, or I don't have a reliable way to clear hazards. I don't have a way to do this. But for the most part, I imagine a lot of these cores will stay the same. A lot of these people's big draft picks or early draft picks, their heavy point Pokemon will probably stay here. So I feel, uh, you know, maybe we can give them uh, a second opinion down the line.
Absolutely, absolutely. Draft play is all a big balancing act, different from your standard ladder play where you have strong stuff. You're naturally going to have strong stuff in your draft play, but it really is first come first serve. So some of the players who were a little bit later in the draft pool or whatnot had to plan around the
Mhm.
more desirable big mega hitters being taken right out of the gate. But that does not necessarily mean that there are any weak teams here. In fact, quick glance over all the teams, they're all really strong in their own regards.
Yeah, I mean, opening it up to 32 teams means everybody kind of gets one or two big hitters, like staples of competitive formats. Some even creeping into Uber levels, and VGC staples and stuff like that. Obviously, we do singles here, but Pokemon that are known for being just threats all the way around. So obviously, it's not quite like your typical showdown or VGC ladder where you have your team of 6, you go in, and then you're facing whatever's put in front of you. Having this, knowing exactly, hey, this is what my opponent can bring, playing around that, it kind of brings some interesting strategies too. Knowing kind of having a pseudo cheat sheet in front of you of, hey, these my opponent has this threat, this threat, this threat. How do I plan around to either beat that threat or not lose in some instances?
Absolutely. And with these analysis here, not going to go too into depth because just as everybody is still figuring out their drafts, we're also trying to figure out their drafts. So there's definitely some sort of unseen strategies. We can probably theorize some of the bigger stuff, but really, who's to know what they're planning? I don't really know what the pilots are considering. I can just kind of view the plane that they're flying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
I agree.
would you like to go through? You want to go down the main list first, like starting from number 1 to 32, or would you? Which would be easier, going to the
Uh,
conferences?
either works for me. We can go 1 to 32 in that draft order that we had, or we can start with A conference and then work our way through to Z conference, or however you want to do it.
Let's go down the list. Let's go down the list,
Okay.
and we'll start with number 1. First up is our resident in-house, beautiful, handsome artist in Elite Four playoffs mainstay, Nurse Jason Zilla, and he's here representing his new team for this season, the Apple Hills Bad Apples. First time seeing them. They're very exciting.
Yeah, Jason's pretty consistently always in the top half of every league that he's in. Is scraping at least into playoffs. Sometimes making semis and finals in a couple of these things too. I'll have to see. Does he have? I think he's got. Let me pull up the Hall of Champions real quick. Let's see if he. I think he's got a.
I don't believe Jason's won a big league yet.
He's never pulled it. Never done it. Arnold. Let's see. There's the trip win. Okay, yeah, no, I don't think he. I don't believe he has. But he's always. I mean, he's always been. He's always been near the top. He's always a very, very consistent threat. In getting, of course, the first pick in the draft, he takes Mega Salamence.
Oh yeah.
That'll lead us into what do you think? What do you think about this team here?
So really like his team. Jason's always been a player who I've personally found a little bit hard to prep for because you can look at his mons and you can get a general idea of like how to play around them, but he always has something in his back pocket that covers up like a niche hole.
Mhm.
So I really like his team. Definitely a lot more focus on a few of his heavy hitters. Like he has Mega Salamence at the forefront too, which I know was a very sought out Pokemon. So Jason's probably kicking his feet happily that he was able to get the most ideal Mon here.
Yeah.
Zarude's a very interesting Pokemon. I find it to be a little tough to switch in on. It has neat grass dark stab combos, and knockoffs are never pleasant. 3 Wish Pivoters really big for playing defensively, and like they're all kind of fat.
Yeah.
They'll take some big hits.
That was going to be kind of my thing. Is it was like I think getting the first pick in the draft and taking Mega Salamence. This is kind of like you've got your sweeper. You've got your like everyone's like you're going to expect this Pokemon to far and away lead the Bad Apples in KOs for the league, possibly even reaching MVP status of most leagues in the entire of most KOs in the entire league. So you've got having like that super thick defensive core like Aloma Mola, Starachi, to kind of hold that down. Belly Bolt's pretty sturdy as well, and even then like a couple really big physical attackers in the back to support Mega Salamence like Zarude and even Okidoki if he wants to bring that.
Yeah, Okidogi's a fun one. It has really strong abilities. Like, I think it's pretty decent defensively. Poison fighting's pretty nice, especially on like bug switches and whatnot. Toxic Chain is really frustrating to deal with if you're trying to play like a defensive core against this element here. Plus, it has Guard Dog, which is just anti-intimidate. Really handy stuff. And I'm also really looking forward to seeing Terrapagos played. Really,
Yeah, I mean,
really cool
no
Pokemon
Terra.
because I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no. I mean, like you said, no Terra is in this format, right? So, you're kind of just going with base form Trevorgos, and seeing what it can kind of bring to the table. It's my
Absolutely.
understanding, right?
Yeah, this one's a super safe. While it won't have its Terraform Zero and whatnot to clear off hazards and terrains and whatnot, and use a ridiculous stab combo in its Terra Starstorm. It's a pretty solid defensive core here because like it has rapid spin. I was originally looking at picking this up for my draft as well before kind of things shifted the way they did. It having what is it called, Terra Shell, where the first hit is not very effective, allows for it to literally never die. You can't get
Right.
you can't Oko it. So like you're really gonna want to put up a ghost in front of it. But even then, it's like this thing kind of can take agency on the board. I think because like
Mm-hmm.
it being normal and resisting ghost types and whatnot, you're gonna have to really work your way around this thing. And it gets rest. Doesn't have like recover or anything, but rest will be good for undoing toxic stall as well as resetting that Terra Shell.
Yeah, I mean the goal here just seems pretty simple. You've got your great defensive core. The goal seems to be whittle down the opposition until you can safely get Mega Salamence in, and then with that aerialate ability and his insane stats, just kind of clean up whatever's left as the defensive core kind of slowly chips away at everybody else.
Lovely. Well, we're going to move on now to the Safari Park Tyrants with our resident former champion of the 2024 SPDL, Stoic.
Yeah,
Safari Park Tyrants has been his identity. Like every single league, aside from our one Little Cup league, and even then, that was the Safari Park Tyrants. He loves his dinosaurs.
big dinosaur fan Stoic here, the defending champion. A very interesting story. From my understanding, he had not really touched competitive Pokemon until he joined Silpco, and from there he had I think one league he entered before going into SPDL and managed to kind of put it all together and win last year's SPDL, earning himself, of course, the champion title for the year. Has to give it up now, so now he's back to just bodybuilder Stoic. But he ends up taking with his first pick Zacian, which again I think these first picks are going to be kind of the telltales of where their team heads or who to essentially prepare for. But also, and you see in the back there the Mega Gyarados that he picked up in Buyer's Remorse as well, adding another terrifying threat to this already pretty this pretty well put together team. Another pretty thick team too, if you ask me.
Yeah, Stoic, in my eyes, has always been a player that's kind of appreciated the less is more. Last year he won with a minimum Pokemon league, and like he really set up a strong core that lasted throughout the league, and I really think that the same thing is going to happen here. Tangrowth is a returning stay from what I recall. Really strong Regenerator mon on the physical side. Mono Grass is pretty good on general switch-ins and whatnot. Rocky helmet sets, leech seeds, stuff like that. A little bit of a pain to get off the board, and Umbreon really complements that Tangrowth in that same capacity too, where it's pretty neutral on a lot of stuff, and another Wish Passer.
Yeah, I mean, because he's got plenty of of course not only is it the physical threats in Zacian and Mega Gyarados, but that Mega Pidgeot that he drafted as well. His original Mega from the draft seems to be crazy too. I mean, I always forget no guard Hurricane can and will do a lot of damage and can be a nuisance, especially if a confusion happens to the field.
Absolutely. I've not, in the VGC side of Pokemon, Mega Pidgeot's really not been a massively desirable Pokemon, just for most part of lack of coverage and whatnot, and really good stabs. But I really do think in Draft League, especially with the spread out pool of Pokemon, that this might be a really strong Pokemon to deal with.
Yeah, I think he doesn't have. I'm trying to look here. He doesn't have too much in terms of I would say like pure utility, outside of Umbreon. But still, if it seems like this team kind of relies on having just one solid. If it gets any sort of tempo, it can carry it into an easy sweep behind behind either one of its sort of main physical threats.
Right. And looking over this draft once more too, I really feel I really feel as though if there was something I would hone in on, it doesn't have too much hazard clear. Empoleon's a pretty solid switch in on like rocks and webs, especially with that competitive, and I do believe it gets defog. But if you're relegating your defogger point, your defogger roll to Pidgeot, it's like you're kind of sacrificing the Terra for boot, excuse me, the Mega for boots, or you're taking a quarter of health on your Mega Pokemon on a switch in. Definitely
Right.
something to look forward to is the hazard game here. But Zacian, honestly, I've kind of discredited Zacian for the most part. Without its crown, I've kind of felt like it's just been a little bit lesser. But like honestly, when you look at its stats and its speed and the amount of coverage it gets, and the fact that on its first switch and it gets that +1 boost, it's like he's ready to go. He's ready to start. He's ready to start hitting right out of the gate.
And that's kind of what I mean. That speaks to how good Zacian Crown is right. You take that away, you still leave yourself with a 660 base total, 138 speed, physical fairy type, which is like again, like you said, he already has amazing coverage on top of that. So he can kind of, if you're not bringing something that's scarfed to deal with a Zacian, you're probably gonna have a really hard time. You're gonna have to take at least one hit from it, right? To try and counter back with like a bulky steel or something like that to try and get it out of the way. But it can still, of course, bring easy fighting coverage, and you're still in the same boat you were before. So it's still an incredible Pokemon, even without his fancy little sword.
Absolutely, I think Zacian's going to be the big one that people are going to have to scratch their heads over countering. So next up is our honestly, I'm going to start using the word dark horse a lot in this video. Ston has joined us last year, roughly around the same time that I joined the server, and this dude has four league wins under his belt already. He won last year's League of Exalted Exiles. He won the Little Cup. He won the League of Lunacy, and he just now won the League of any ability or
Yeah, this
altered
is the
abilities.
altered ability. So yeah, he's got. So let me recollect. I don't even think we can really call him a dark horse anymore. He might be a favorite. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, all
so
eyes are on
he,
Ston this time.
so he's got League of Eliminated Elites, which was essentially like a tons of undrafted Pokemon from our previous leagues. That was a 14-man league that he took down.
Oh, I
Uh,
actually believe that the LOEE, I believe that was a kind of sort of a newbie league where all the Elite Fours and the
that's
champions
what
were
it was.
excluded.
I'm thinking of the garbage. I'm thinking of the
The
garbage.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
the bottom barrel following.
hmm so that kind of, so he won his intro, essentially his intro league, followed it up with the League of Lunacy, right? That basically our anything goes league. Then goes effectively back to back, taking the Little Cup league, and now you said the almost any ability league too. So like Stan is just, I mean it's been all gas no brakes here, and I think he's set himself up to be a really strong champion contender with this draft too. I like this draft a lot. Uh,
Absolutely. I've faced Ston maybe 3 times now. I can't get him. I can't get him. Ston, I'm after you.
so it takes, so like I mean 3 picks off the bat. You got Megalodios, Cinderace, Tapu Koko, just an incredible offensive core. You can put whatever you want behind it, and that'll as long as you're just not I feel like as long as you're just not inting them into bad switches, like that's already a threat of getting 3-0'd right out of the gate.
Absolutely. Megalodios was a very interesting first pick because, like I mentioned with Mega Pidgeot, it's one of those Pokemon that in separate formats you kind of look at and you go, this thing's not as desirable compared to its counterpart. But what's special about this league here is that not only are we drafting the Megas, we are drafting their originals, their non-Megas. So Latios has been historically really strong for its really high special attack and its dragon coverage. And it having levitate is just very handy. It lets it come in on webs and spikes and whatnot, and he can just start dishing out damage. Also, that thing has flip turn. It's worth pointing out that he has some really decent pivot on his team. Lots of moving around and hard to peg pieces. Truthfully, I'm really excited. He has Cinderace as well. Honestly, I think Cinderace is a phenomenal mon. I really enjoy Court Change and I really enjoy Libero. Like, it's kind of an unassuming mon for it being a mono fire, but like whenever you're up against it, you never have a good time.
No, absolutely, yeah, for absolutely. And like you said, between all this pivoting, you got Tapu Koko, who is a fantastic bolt switcher. He can setting that electric terrain as well. There's definitely a lot of, especially with the Iron Jugulus in the back too. That there's potential for synergy between the electric terrain. I'm kind of sad he sniped Still Valley for me. I was really hoping I could get that
Yeah, Savali's just
later on.
Arceus Jr.
Yeah, so yeah, RCS at home, a Pokemon whose draft stock I think go like he's not, I think very highly. I think he's like NU or something like that in your typical singles, but the ability to just again be whatever type you need him to be is incredible. If you're prepping a team, and you bring a super weak ground weak team, you bring Silvally Flying, and you're good, and you have at least a reliable pivot to that. You need some defensive cores held down. You make him a good defensive type like Steel or Poison or something like that. There, that can really kind of just make things difficult. And has, of course, 95s in all stat too. Like it can, uh, you know, it's an extremely versatile bond that any team would want and could use effectively.
Absolutely. I really enjoy his type spread here. I really feel as though one of the strengths in team building for him going forward is that you're definitely going to want to focus on his big hits, but he has so many mons that are useful that you won't really be able to fully guess what he's bringing. I think.
Yeah, and that's the I think the part that's the kind of a benefit you want to have for your team uh, is as the weeks go on, your threats will start to, your base threats and strategies will kind of come to fruition. You kind of see, okay, this person likes to play this Pokemon this way and stuff like that. But like knowing that like any one of his first three picks could be the main offensive focus, and then also bringing a lot of really interesting, like his back half of his draft is a lot of interesting, um, more kind of wonky support Pokemon like Toad School and Pikimiku, uh, and even Pokemon like Galarian Slowbro, who I've used in the past, and I can speak to Galarian Slowbro. Sometimes, if you just need it to like, if you just need to throw some chaos in there, Quick Draw, Quick Claw can turn an entire battle on its head if you're trying to just uh, go for the gusto.
Absolutely. Oh, and it being a regenerator mon too is really nice, adding a little bit of defensive value, a little bit more defensive value to that team.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what Stan can bring. Obviously, he's corralled himself a good section. I think our most winningest player or coach in Silco history as of right now with 4 league wins. So if he can, obviously making it 5, getting that last Infinity Stone, so to speak, of being an SPDL championship. I mean, that'd be. We don't have a Hall of Fame now, but he'd be first ballot at that point if we did. So we'll see what Son can cook here for SPDL.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see what the Paldea Polders have in mind. So next up, we have the Mount Moon Butt Dragons from our resident Island Kahuna Matt, aka Mr. Butt Dragon.
Mr. Butt Dragon.
Another less is more draft. I really enjoy seeing these tighter core drafts. Last year in the SPDL, he had a very strong defensive core. He had stuff like Alamamola and Amoonguss for a really gross double regenerator core and a shed skin Scrafty. So I really feel like he has some echoes of a defensive core here, but it looks like he's kind of put some of that defensive core ideology behind and just kind of stepped on the gas a bit with the first pick, Iron Valiant.
Yeah, this team just screams offense to me. Like it's looking at his first. I mean, really, he doesn't get a defensive. I guess Slowking kind of. Galarian Slowking is can be moderately defensive. He's a slow. He is part of that the slowpoke family after all. But like, I mean, it's just all offense until Jellicent, and even then, like even after Jellicent, an Amerasterian and Titan are also very capable of being offensive threats in and of itself. But you're right, Trip. This is pedal on the floor. I'm throwing offensive juggernauts at you, and if you don't have the bulk or if you don't have the knowledge to correctly answer what I'm throwing at you, you're gonna lose.
Absolutely, and very interesting for first 3 or 4 picks or so. Personally, I think that his team really complements each other. Iron Valiant lead, or even just a switch in on Iron Valiant with booster energy. One of the fastest, most threatening things that you could even have in this league right now. Maybe you switch into a steel type or a poison type, and you got Galarian Slowking right behind. And what's really cool is looking at potential synergies for the team. Galarian Slowking alongside regular Slowking and that chilly reception pivot, and he has a Snow Sweeper in the back with Titan, one of the chunkiest mons with Slush Rush. Definitely something
Mhm.
scary to look for.
Yeah, and those are the kind of things that like at first glance, you have to consider in prepping. It's like, okay, do I have a if he brings to Titan, is that something I'm gonna have to worry about on the back foot? And then that can you play that mind game out of the gate, where it's like if they either bring the Titan counter, you don't bring Titan, and now they have essentially a less effective mon, not useless of course, but like a mon that's designed to beat Titan, now Titan's not there. Conversely, if if they bring Titan, then you don't have something that either can get Slowking out of the way or something that can check or answer Titan, then that's some of that's not the worst feeling, but a bad feeling when like it's a under 10 point Pokemon that's getting the leg up and the sweep on you. Because then it's like, well, Iron Valiant, sure, I expect getting swept up by it. Versatile Blood Moon, sure, I catch a couple of blinds, I catch a couple Blood Moons to the face, that's it. But feeling yourself get set up and killed by a Titan feels a little bit worse, I would say.
Absolutely. We're going to move on to Chan's draft, the Celadon Kingslayers. This team was introduced, I really want to say, in the last league, in the League of Altered Abilities. I really enjoyed Chan's draft, truthfully. She definitely has a very particular eye for certain Pokemon that she wants. And what's interesting is that a lot of her Pokemon across her drafts really meet this nice balance for her between cute and strong. Like taking
Yeah.
a look at Victini, Ogerpon, Hearthflame, and Mew. All three of those are very interesting, strong, and versatile Pokemon, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, Chan is one of the most consistent draft coaches in the league. I think she's in probably 85-90% of these leagues that we've run over the course of the years, and I agree. You can always look at a team and be like, okay, this is a Chan team, or this has her handiwork in it, right? But the she's got herself a really solid core to start with. Obviously, Metal out of the gate. Not many Pokemon can eat a double Iron Bash. If I believe that move is legal, which I think it is, right, in this league.
Absolutely, yeah. And it,
Yeah.
it being boosted even
Uh,
further with Iron Fist.
mhm. You're not going to have that's already you're not going to have very many Pokemon, especially in a 32 team league that can reliably check that. And even then, trying to get over that hill, you've got the extremely versatile Mew, Victini, who you said is a very powerful offensive mon. Uh, the Ogre Pun sitting in the back, and I will say there is it does tend to lead a bit more. Her team tends to lead a bit more offensively centered. So we'll see if she can adjust to the more um, bulkier, kind of tempo heavy teams
Absolutely.
throughout the league. Just because like while nothing can really take a double Iron Bash, Metal is slow as balls. So the revenge if if Metal gets revenge killed and then you kind of start losing that sort of war of attrition, then you're kind of in a hole. But that's if Metal does ever go down.
Yeah, absolutely. A quick glance over her draft. There is definitely a little bit of type overlapping here, but you can't ever count out fire types. Fire types are frankly some of the strongest offensive Pokemon with Ceruledge, Ogerpon, and Victini. I think they all kind of cover each other's bases a little bit. And Mew being 100 in all its stats too. If she ever decides to lean in the defense heavy side of Mew could be solid utility. She also has
Yeah.
3 spinners, really handy. There's going to be a lot of hazard setting, I believe, in this league. There's a lot of setup mons and whatnot, and a lot of ground types and rock types floating around
Yeah.
to really set the field. And it's really handy to have Pokemon that one resist them and two can clear them.
For sure, and that's the thing is obviously Mew is kind of speaking to Sylvia earlier. Mew is another example of those Pokemon that are just they're good in draft because they can do kind of whatever you want. Mew obviously having the gimmick of knowing every TM, TR, whatever you want to call it in the game means as you said, if if she's prepping, she sees that she's missing some sort of like extra bulk. You can come in, be a pure tank, be a setup person with like calm minds and things like that. Can kind of fill whatever slot she might need going into a week, which again makes prepping difficult for the people facing her because uh, you come in and now this Mew checks one of your mons, gets to set up a couple calm mines or gets to set up a nasty plot or something like that, and now you're staring down a Pokemon that not only can blow up your entire team, but being 100 in every stat has uh, that extra bulk that a lot of these like sweepers don't have to be able to live a hit and tank the revenge kill and stuff like that. But we'll see with Chan. I'm always a Chan supporter. So
Absolutely.
I need a deep run this year from
Next up, the Sinnoh Scraggies. I believe this is our second league ever from Scraggy, and Scraggy is Cal's brother. I believe his first league was participating in our Monotype League, the most recent
mm-hmm.
one. I believe he was the Rock coach. Um,
That sounds right.
yeah, right after the LOMM, the brothers, they kind of, you would think they kind of disappeared, but I really think they hit the time chamber. I think they hit the hyperbolic time chamber, and we're working on some strats because looking at this draft, he is not pulling any punches. He started off with a Mega Metagross.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I would consider a pretty like this is the kind of draft style I like. Um, I really enjoy offensively bulky Pokemon, solid core types. He's got the a solid fire, water, grass core and Rillaboom, Primarina, and Moltres. He's got a offensive threat that he can build his team around. Even if he doesn't want to bring like Mega Metagross to the thing, having standard Metagross is still incredible. He's got some Pokemon that all require a bit of like bring a bit of caution to them. Komodo can is just a belly drum away from sweeping. Mudsdale can be if you don't have if you're out of special sweepers, Mudsdale can just kind of sit on top of you and chip away with stamina
Body press.
and body press and stuff like that. And another key thing I will say too, he has 9 points banked still from the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So
can, and he only has the minimum amount of Pokemon. He can pick up a new Pokemon at any point in time, or he can kind of, he can work some trades here if he needs to.
absolutely, yeah. Not only trades, but there's still a lot of I think some solid Pokemon that are still in the free agent pool that he could pick up, even at just at the 9 point tier. You've got Noivern, Obstagoon, Shaman, Hisuian, Braviary, Pokemon like that can really fill out any potential weaknesses he might find in week 1 or 2. But even then, like going into free agency, going higher, getting base Ogerpon or even Meloetta or Terrakion, very very solid Pokemon that just kind of fell through the draft, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
And that can really kind of complete a team. But Scraggy and his brother are a very dynamic duo. We'll have to see what they can kind of what he can put together.
Absolutely. And looking over this draft once more, I'm noticing. Well, I would say that if he, there are probably plenty of utility mons that he can pick up to complement the bulky defensive nature of this draft, and he can clear hazards. Otherwise, Moltres is probably going to be stuck with Boots Defog, which isn't a bad combo and all, but
Mm-hmm.
really kind of it has the potential to make your defensive core a little bit susceptible. But on the plus side, though, he has a lot of resistances to rocks in Metagross being Steel type, Komodo being a fighting type, and whatnot. So some of these Pokemon can really comfortably come in on these sort of things.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you do have to face down a pretty rock heavy, hazards heavy team, like you said, just putting a pair of Jordans on the Moltres would probably do it.
Next up is the New Barktown Nidos, Ribonator. Believe this is the returning run of the New Barktown Nidos. They participated in the SPDL 24, and I lost to him in the playoffs. Feels bad, but Ribonator's another player that's been extremely consistent across all his leagues and whatnot, consistently making playoffs. And frankly speaking, he was as you can see, he's an Elite Four member. So if I was him, I'd be wanting to hold down that title at least.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the expectation, right? He's not defending he doesn't have quite the weight on his shoulders like Stoic does defending the championship, but still, you know, carrying that Elite Four title, the last thing you want to do is in the bigger 32 team league now missing playoffs, right? Even as an Elite Four member. But I mean, the Nitos are one of the, you know, there are some of us who just kind of ride or die with our franchises, so to speak. And the Nitos are kind of, I would say, one of the more, for lack of a better term, iconic teams uh, in Silpco. You know, it's Bribanators. If he's piloting a team, it's usually the Tito's unless it's a specific kind of gimmick league. But diving into his draft, this is I mean I think he would put together an incredible draft. Personally, this team is terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. This is, to me, I believe one of the more heavily hyper offense teams here. With you,
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of immediate pressure with Pokemon like Raging Bolt, booster sets hitting nasty Dracos, and even Volt switches. Urshifu Rapid Strike, um, no, with its surging strikes and its unseen fist, really being unblockable unless you have like a water absorbing ability or whatnot. A lot of immediate offensive pressure and some decent pivots too. He has a bronze lung in the back, which is really handy for setting up hazards and just kind of slowing down the pace of things not going his way. He does have a
Mm-hmm.
couple of ground weak mon like Raging Bolt and King Gambit, so Bronzong sitting in the back with its levitate is very handy to help slow the pace. And he also has strong utility. Thunderous Incarnate with its prankster Thunder Waves, uncomfortable. You are
No,
going to be
yeah,
going behind him, and he says so.
yeah, and that's the terrifying part too. Is with a hyper offensive team like this is the last thing I think this particular team has an advantage on other hyper offenses simply because like I feel like in hyper offense versus the hyper offense mirror, it's a lot of uh, one for one trading. Like I'm gonna send out my big guy, kill your dude. You send out his counter, kill him. You know, you kind of play that back and forth of raising the chips. But what Ribinator brings as kind of that advantage is the King Gambit. You know, bringing that sitting, the thing can just sit in the back, let its other offensive brethren kind of take control, and then just sit in on top, get that Supreme Overlord boost, and finish off any team that's still kind of limping along after having to deal with Urshifu, Raging Bolt, Mega Gardevoir, all in a row.
Right, and King Gambit's one of those Pokemon that, like, it's not a fast Pokemon, and frankly speaking, it doesn't need the speed. It has the bulk and the power to back it up. It has both. It has two really good abilities: Supreme Overlord for the late game sucker punches and whatnot, and even Defiant in some of those matches where he's looking to punish web setters or even people who are getting a little too comfortable with their parting shots. So
Mm-hmm.
really excited to see what he brings with this one. He does. I do believe that he had his mascot originally, and he made some money moves, and I do think it will pay off for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And him and I are kind of in the same vein of like it's like if we can make room for our mascot, we're going to draft them. And he did take Nido King, of course, versus I think this is the first league he's going into as a Nido's without a Nido King in the lineup somewhere. So we'll have to
Yeah,
see if he can, if you know, leaving his mascot in the hands of somebody else will pay off for him and see if he can repeat at least, like I said, going back to back in Elite Four appearances. So.
absolutely. Next up, we have the Berry Forest Beedrills with our bug catching man Jackie. I hadn't seen a whole lot of him in the last year or so that I've been here, but he started a comeback run here. Came back for the Monotype League, and he's back for the big league. And honestly, this is the most fired up I've ever seen this man. And I think his draft really reflects it. There's some courage, and there's definitely a plan when you first pick Great Tusk among all of the megas and other Paradox Pokemon that are available.
Yeah, being able to grab Great Tusk and then Goldingo on the backswing of the second round already kind of uh, gives you gives you what you need to build around, right? So from there, it's like you can bring Great Tusk Goldingo to every single match. People are going to know you're going to bring Great Tusk Goldingo to every single match, and they can try to bring counters for them. But you have the rest of the draft to sort of support them, right? Whether it's getting them solid bulkier mons to cover their weaknesses, some hazard setters, or some support Pokemon status spreaders to kind of like soften up the other team before they can come in and finish the job off. And I feel like he's done that to an extent. I think with the back half of this draft, a lot more support heavy or tempo heavy Pokemon, but like even still outside of Goldango and Great Tusk, like his mega being Mega Beedrill off the bat is also something you have to really kind of keep an eye on with what it can do, because I feel like it's I feel like it's a relatively underrated Mega. Everyone knows it's super crazy, but like it's hard to like change the image of Beedrill in your mind as anything other than an earlier Outmon.
Absolutely, and echoing back to what we were saying about there being VGC staples and then the ones that are undesirable. This format actually I think lends a lot of credence to Beedrill potentially being good. He has a lot of I really like the support core and whatnot, and he has lots of room to actually support that Mega Beedrill. Whether or not that ends up being his carry across the games really remains to be seen, because he does have heavy hitters like the Great Tusk and the Goldango, and even the Hisuian Samurott with its sharpness. It's typically supportive, but honestly, I've seen that thing do some crazy things. I'm also really excited to see the Fezandipiti Serena combo. Just me. I played in the League of Bottom Barrel, and one of our newer players, well, newer to our Silvco drafts, but not necessarily newer to the server, is Delta. And honestly, I'm seeing some echoes of that with this pair here, and I'm starting to think that there's something there that I didn't see before. Fezandipiti, it's a lower point mon, but it's surprisingly really unique in its defenses with its roost and its toxic chain beat ups and its U-turns and stuff like that. You don't really know what this thing is going to do, and I've never had a good time fighting Fezandipiti. I think it's a really
Yeah,
solid mon that people just don't fully understand at times.
for sure, especially because like your only real experience in a typing such as this is Crobat, and Crobat's kind of like, I'm gonna come and be faster than you, just Brave Bird you and hope you die. Whereas Fezandipiti, while it doesn't have the offensive capabilities of Crobat, like you said, that poison flying on a Pokemon that uh, has more of a utilitarian type of archetype to it, really kind of can throw people for a loop, right? It's just seeing something like that positioned in a different way, and then having the Serena on the back support too. Serena can also just be kind of an interesting mon to deal with. Uh, you have to like be aware of Queenly Majesty, right? You have to be aware of stuff like that, and knowing that like giving Serena a free turn to do anything is pretty bad. Whether she's doing a more supportive role, or if she's kind of going more an offensive, where she's coming in with a boosted Trop Kick or something like that.
Absolutely, I do believe that Fezandipiti is a poisoned fairy, actually.
The Poison Fairy, I this whole time
Yeah,
thought it was Poison
it,
Flying.
that yeah,
I've
it's
been
it's
lied to.
Fairy provides a very valuable dragon immunity, as well as it's also just nice to switch in on things that can tank a U-turn, like double resisting U-turn and having the bulk to continue doing stuff. Always really good. It kind of stands its ground. Serena's, yeah, with its Queenly Majesty, there's gonna be a lot of priority floating around with some cheeky sucker punches here and there, some cheeky mock punches, and even the Deoxys forms with their extreme speeds lurking around. Being able to slow that tempo there and have some anti-priority, always really, really nice. And it's not really affected by stuff like terrain.
Yeah, I mean, see, and again, obviously he's our, I think, our first 10, or no, he's our second 10 mod team that we've seen. So obviously having those extra couple extra mods to kind of diversify your prep, and being able to bring certain answers as you need against other people. That's kind of the trade-off of reaching out for those extra two Pokemon, and drafting around that sort of concept is, individually they may not be Great Tusk Dingle level, but really patching up those holes can mean a lot when it comes to prepping and bringing answers to other people throughout the season.
Absolutely. Next up, the Mahogany Mother... Excuse me, the Mahogany Mother
Ooh.
Muckers. with our resident Dragon Tamer, Dragon. I haven't seen too terribly much of Dragon personally. I know that he's been a member that's been around for a minute now. My first time seeing him was watching him pick up a team from the SPDL 24. I believe he came in as a late entrant, taking over a team that was relinquished by somebody. And last year he had a Sun Core, and it was really fun to watch him. And a player who I kind of had like an eye out for. I was like, wow, I really like the tenacity and the sturdiness in his set, and I think that I think that he's continuing his trend here, albeit not with a Sun team this time.
Right. No, I mean he is at least sticking to his guns here. Does take the Mega Charizard X as his first pick, and then like a lot of these other guys, getting their second offensive threat on the back half with Iron Bundle is like that Fire Dragon and the water ice, right? Just incredible, an incredible dynamic duo out of the gate, and kind of filled in a lot of those gaps with some incredible support mons. The Grim Snarl with Prankster Screens. Yeah, Sylveon can be a good setup, or I think a Wish Passer too, if I'm not mistaken. Galarian Weezing can always be a really tough hill for some teams not ready for him to overcome. So I mean, this is he found his two MVPs, and really devoted this draft to making sure that they're going to be the ones taking him far.
Absolutely. All his team needs is an electric terrain setter.
Right.
I like seeing the double future mons. They have their own interesting things that they do here. I like the offensive core, and frankly, I really enjoy seeing Galarian Weezing and Grimmsnarl in the back. They're solid fairy types that really slow down the pace either by disrupting the board and pivoting, or in some cases turning off abilities entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I realized we've been going for about 46 minutes now. Maybe I've been yapping a little bit too much. Might just cut this up into two, or maybe we'll just kind of hit the gas a little bit there.
It's your call. However you want to cut it in, trim it, and talk about it. If you want to do 16 now and then 16 later, or you want to try to do all 32 now, we can. It don't matter to me.
I think I'll split them in half. I'll end the recording at 16 and then continue again.
Okay.
So next up we have Cal. We have Cal, Scraggy's brother, our OG. He's been around for a while, and last year he had some really strong performances. He's also another player who I've seen show up in a lot of our drafts. Not as much players show out as Chan, but he definitely participates in a lot of our leagues as well.
Yeah, I would say he's kind of our resident. He's our resident across the pond guy from I don't know particularly where he is in the UK. If I can be a bad person for a moment, I'm not quite sure. I know if I say one, it's going to be one of them. It's going to be one. I'm just going to say the United Kingdom, and he can correct me from there.
I
But
do believe so. They've never corrected us and said no to us calling them Brits.
okay, well that's good. That my assumption was that. So, do you need but I mean, he's kind of brought a also drafted his mascot, which I fully respect. Cal's Quagsires are also a very like you said, a very common team in these drafts. But he's got himself, I would say, a pretty. He does have his offensive threats with Zamazenta and Mega Aerodactyl and Naganadel, but this is a pretty tricky team. If I can take a look at it.
Absolutely. Defensive core is really good. Uh, he also has a water fire grass core. Talonflame not so much strong on the defensive side, but having flying is a really good utility for it. It diminishes some of its weaknesses and gives it a little bit more resistances. Like coming in on like grass mons, it resists a little bit more. And while it may not have the most impressive defenses, it can at least stomach those hits better. I'm really liking Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn being one of those generational heartaches right there, with its iron barbs and its really strong defensive stats, as well as its ability to stay on the board with Leech Seed leftovers. And I really think that'll help slow things down, because this might be the year of Quag. Quag is here to complement
Could be
the weaknesses of Ferrothorn, and it having Unaware and Water Absorb it's just very nice.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrothorn's always somebody I try to keep an eye on when we do a more Nat Deck style draft. It's never ever going to be a bad pick in any team, any comp, anything, whatever. It is worth every point that it is. You will always get use out of it. You can bring it to every fight. And as long as you have, like you said, a bulky water on the offside to counter that fire weakness, especially a water ground like Quagsire, Ferrothorn may never lead your team in KOs, but I know there's a league where I use Ferrothorn, and it was not the KO leader, but it was, I think, my MVP. That Mon saved me against many a threat. So
Abs-
I imagine he'll do the same for Cal.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next up, we have our ace trainer Rick, leading the Knuckle Hill Hoodlums, and he is the man who started up this league. He is the man who started up everything that we do here at Silvco. Massive shout outs here. Really proud of all the work he does, and honestly, he has the skills to back up everything he does here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because this is it still has a bit of Rick sauce to the draft, but it's a bit different than when I just a half step off of what he normally takes. Obviously, he has won a league before. He won the second League of Original Origin, which is just our vanilla our smaller vanilla league that we've run once a year now. And his teams are usually horrendously bulky regenerator cores that love to just wear you down, drag the fight out until eventually he just builds up enough of an advantage that you realize that, oh, I'm down. You know, we're 80 turns in. He's leading me 6 Pokemon to 5, but all 5 of my Pokemon are below half health and status. I don't know what I'm gonna do anymore, right? But and some of that still exists there. A lot of that heavy tempo with Tornadusarian and Wish Passing and his signature. I can think of no man whose signature archetype is a bulky Watermon than Rick. He's got obviously the Vaporeon there, and able to pick up the 20-point Deoxys in Biotremorse is also pretty substantial too.
Yeah, yeah. Deoxys being one of our most expensive mons, and it having more frail defenses kind of left some things to be desired about it. But I do think in a bulky pivoting team or a bulky disrupting team, that Deoxys does have a lot more room to shine than most people would think. I know that during the draft night he was really hoping for a Landorus form. I really think that the uniqueness of the ground and flying would have really lent a lot of strength to the playstyle that he likes. But I do not think that Tornadus Therian is bad in any degree. It having the bulk that it does, as well as Regenerator, and just straight sheer versatility of its moves, like it is strong. I think personally, um, I think it slept on a little bit, even compared to its normal incarnate Tornadus, with it having Prankster and Weather and Tailwind and stuff like that. But like for what Rick's team is seeking to do, I believe it is the perfect pickup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because take it can do a lot of things. It can do a bit of work on its own, but giving kind of safe passage for Pokemon like Arcanine to start getting Intimidates down, or even clearing the way for Magearna or Deoxys to come in and try to clear the game up is important. These it's a similar. I hold him in a similar regard to Ferrothorn, where like Tornadus T is never going to be a bad pick for your team. And while he's not cleaning matches up, he's the pedestal that gets you to the victory, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll see what Rick can do. What Rick can do. It's as the owner operator CEO of Silpco, there's a bit of pride in there to do well in your big leagues. So we'll see what Rick can
Absolutely,
do.
and with such strong players like Stoic and Ston there, it's like you don't want to be showing up. He has the ace trainer class. I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see the Rick sauce. Next up, we have Cuffs. We have Cuffs with the Cerulean Marine Stadium Starmies, a returning team. I believe for the most part this has been his staple team. I don't believe I've seen him rock any other team. And Cuffs is a very interesting player. He's really strong on the ladder. He really enjoys playing his random bats and whatnot, and he's crested top 500 in each of them. So he is by no means any slouch when it comes to Pokemon at all. He's always drafted such interesting cores and such interesting unique Pokemon. And honestly, if this man doesn't have Hatchram, he might as well. We're not going to see the best versions of himself. Hatchram has a lot to offer, but the Mega Lucario is probably one of the best picks that he could get for a first pick, with its strong stabs as well as adaptability and really strong offensive stats.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Mega Lucario fell as far as it did. Maybe people were just kind of disincentivized from picking the 20-point mons, because even like Deoxys made it through the entire draft, had to be picked up in Fire Remorse, But it's still an incredible mon. It like its base form, you can kind of being a solid mixed attacker is so good in this. Is so good in a league like this because you can again it allows that versatility to let you bring whatever you want and hope that the person you're fighting brings the wrong counter to it. But even still, Zapdos supporting being the amazing mon that it is, Ogerpon Wellspring is can be a big hill for Pokemon to clear. It's that grass water typing is pretty can be pretty tough to deal with for some offensive cores. The Mega Pinsir on the back half too to get himself a second Mega as an option too is really good. And I'm always going to speak well of Crocodile. That Pokemon has that my best finish in a Silph League has come purely off the back of a Moxie Crocodile. So I'll always sing Crocodile's bases.
Crocodile has such very it's very neat on its typing. It has some, and while it is definitely one of the more offensive heavy mods, it does have some stats to bolster a little bit more defensive. Not like a full defense, but it has the HP stat to live something, and also the intimidate sets are pretty solid for a lot of these big heavy threats coming around, like switching in Crocodile on like if some if Zacian comes in on, say, I don't really know, Zapdos, and then Crocodile comes in, it could really soften some of that blow. Not the greatest example, but Intimidate's going to be really handy, I believe, in this draft as kind of a pocket ability, just for the sheer amount of threats running around. I'm also liking in this format, some Pokemon that have multiple forms have just kind of been lumped in together, namely the Lycanrocs and the Paldean Tauros, because they functionally do the exact same things. Lycanroc's a little bit different, with its forms being it having different stats and different kind of roles within them. But I do believe that as a whole, the Lycanroc line is not as heavily desired, and it's not heavily ranked on any ladder board. So it was kind of all put together in this draft. So Cuffs does have all three of the Lycanrocs at his disposal for some tough claws priority, or even the slower no guard stone edges from the midnight form.
No, absolutely. Like I said, versatility to me is always key in drafts. So being able to just kind of wield all three Lycanrocs as you need to can really. It's not like I said, it's not too big of a game changer like it would because they are the same types. But sometimes they all do different things. They all do different roles slightly differently, so that can really kind of put a thing together. I really like what is it, Dawn form Lycanroc as as a self-sacrifice lead. Like you just set up your rocks and then you click Excel Rock until they finally take you down. That can be a really good tempo swing for any team moving in, especially if you're able to take a mon or two out on your wave.
Absolutely. And before I move on from Cuffs, I have to call out the Overquill. He loves his Pokemon. Another good setup mon, or even another Intimidate pivot, but really good Pokemon. It's part of Cuffs' core.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting great things from Cuffs. He has also popped up in all the playoffs too. This would be a great time for him to also try and cinch a win. And what better league than our biggest league?
Right, get that at least that Elite Four title on you.
Absolutely. Next up, we have our power plant knockouts from one of our OG founding members, Brendan. He is the man who makes all of these spreadsheets and all of this tedium work possible for us. Whenever we have technical problems or we need things done, Brendan's there. He's the handyman. And honestly, I've heard I've heard tales of some of the quirkiest sets that he's run in the past. I haven't witnessed them myself, but I'm really excited to see what Brendan brings with this league here.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, you can kind of assume what his team is set out to do. Like, obviously, you've got not a full rain core, but like Pelipper Palafin is probably a crazy combo. And then big hitters like Ursaluna and Mega Scizor too. Obviously, Pelipper can help out Mega Scizor in that regard. Putting the rain down and nerfing fire types, so Mega Scizor can kind of do his thing safely. But I'll agree. Brendan usually has some pretty interesting sets, some non-standard sets that would typically be standard on other Pokemon. So I think we could expect something from like Tapu Bulu to carry some interesting stuff. Uh, Monkey Dory could probably have some really crazy setups, and of course the 1 point Carbink to round the team out too, as just maybe not quite a spot filler. You know, Carbink has its uses. Can set up hazards. Can I think it has rapid spin too, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Right?
don't
Is it
believe
is
that
it a spinner
Carbink
as
has
well?
rapid spin,
Hmm.
but
Because those round rock types I feel usually do, but
they really should.
uh,
I think that would give
yeah.
that Pokemon even more value with its really strong defenses. Monkey Dory, yeah, I'm really excited to see that one. He actually had a dual weather core right before Buyer's Remorse, where he had some sun set up and he had some rain set up, but he decided he just wants the rain, so he's abandoned the Torkoal he had for the Monkey Dory. And honestly, a solid money move for him too. That did give him some points in the back. So as we see the league moving on, he might decide that he wants to switch up his trajectory, and he has some points to work with.
Yeah, that 5 points kind of gives a bit of wiggle room in case he doesn't, he finds one of his members not up to snuff. That extra 5 points can really help you bat up, so to speak, and get yourself a really nice mon to kind of fill that role. But we'll see. Again, one of our many mainstays in Silpco. So it's always nice to see the old guard make their way through.
Absolutely. And moving on, speaking of Suncore, the Black City Thrillers with Smasher Sam. This is one of the players who is our is a first time participant in our Silvco leagues, and this one being his first really big league. For he's got eyes on him. He's got a lot of competition ahead of him, and honestly, I think that Mega Charizard Y is probably one of the strongest picks that you could have. It was one I was really interested in with its rain, excuse me, with its drought in its mega form and the various tools that it has received across the generations, whatnot. It's a really good a forerunner to his team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously the special counterpart to Charizard X is more physical setup. Loves the sun. He doesn't. I wouldn't say he has. I don't believe. I'm just taking a look. I don't think does he. I don't think there's any someone who can purely feed off the sun alongside. But sometimes that's not too much of a deal, especially because Mega Charizard Y can kind of do enough sun related shenanigans on its own. So having not only that, but a very useful second Mega in Mega Garchomp, mainly because running standard Garchomp is also just an extremely Garchomp is Garchomp. Uh, so having kind of that core around him, and then just a slew of incredible support mons to help
Oh
get those big
yeah,
big boys across the finish line.
love seeing the Dondozo. Dondozo can wreck some shop on its own. It's one of those Pokemon that it really utilizes its monotyping and its thick bulk with Unaware to get some really nasty setups. And in those matchups where he's going up against physical, excuse me, oh yeah, physic like on the more physical leaning teams, Dondozo could be a big threat. We've also seen a lot of work be done out of Snorlax. It's an incredible special wall with its mono normal type and really only one weakness and not many fighting moves that can uh, really dish do the damage it needs to make substantial work on that special attack side. And it honestly
Yeah,
has enough bulk to shirk off
absolutely.
some physical hits here and there.
Yeah, and that's the worst part too. Is you bring your fighting type into Snorlax, he sets up one curse, and then you just can't kill the guy. So like you said, a bunch of Pokemon who can really are I think are you're right are sleeper offensive mons. I Tinkaton as well. A very interesting offensive type that is kind of tough to switch into. I feel like you can probably revenge kill Tinkaton well enough, but having to potentially eat like a Gigaton Hammer or a big flare up or something like that on the switch in is going to be tough. But
Absolutely. And while she may not have the strongest of attacks, that 240 gigaton hammer after stab is one of the most brutal things that you could get hit by.
mhm. And
Next
then
up.
again,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
sorry. I was just going to touch briefly on the support months real
Oh
quick.
yeah.
That the last five,
Apologies.
Mandiba sitting top. Reuniclus, Breloom. I've used Reuniclus in I think 3 or 4 leagues. I love that Pokemon. That Pokemon can everyone's so bulky and has the special tech behind it too to really kind of punish anybody who can't reliably kill it on the crackback. But I just wanted to note that like there's a lot of nefarious doodads and sport mons that it's going to make taking out the Mega Chomp and the Mega Charizard even more difficult.
Absolutely. Love for Uniclus. Really cool abilities, too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, next is the Galar Calyrex Quandos with the coach Hooligan Johnny behind the helm. He's a player who's been around in the server for a while, and he's taken a break from Pokemon, at least since the time that I've been playing in Silvco. So seeing him come off the bench for the big league is really important and special for the players who have been around since the beginning. And honestly, he's got a lot of new blood to a lot of new blood to contend with.
Yeah, I will say, it's another 10 mon draft here. So keeping things pretty spread out. His obviously his top half grabbing the Mega Mawile, the Spectre on his own, which I think is pretty. It can be an interesting pick. Obviously the the horses in Calyrex are separated for this league, but again, it's kind of like Zacian. You kind of forget that behind the as one gimmick that Calyrex Rider has with Spectre. Spectre still a legendary Pokemon in its own right. Still has really good stats. Still is a pretty powerful ghost type that can do a lot of work for you. But he does have a lot of interesting uh, midpoint picks, I would say, too. Between the Indeedee, the Scovillain, and the Bomb. And of course the Crawdon too. I think he can always be a pretty good threat when he needs to be.
Absolutely. I feel like his team has a lot of answers for other teams. Like you're going to be seeing your occasional Sun team here. You're going to be seeing your occasional priority spam here, and like he has some interesting cores like Scrafty with like I mentioned earlier with a returning team. It having its shed skin is good for the stall teams. Crawdont's really good for setting up on maybe slower teams or even setting up on support mons with its adaptability. And you have Scovillain for its Scovillain's a very cool one. Not one that I believe that I've seen in any leagues, but it has its chlorophyll and it's got some um, pretty strong grass fire stab. Especially both of those being complemented by the weather with its solar beam and its fire attacks. Thunderous Theory and existing in the back there to really take some of the weight off the shoulders of Moltres and Crawdont there, being able to switch in on electric moves. He has a very interesting responsive team, and he does like you mentioned he has those heavy hitters up front with the Spectre and the Mega Mawile.
Yeah, I mean, I think about as this is about as standard of a team as you can get. He's got kind of a mon for every role. We'll have to see kind of as the weeks go on what sets he can cook up and be kind of like as the weeks change. I'm sure he may take that adaptability to another level and be someone who kind of is pretty transaction heavy as the season goes out, kind of rotating mons in and out to um, not only make a push for a playoffs, make sure he's better prepared for the back half of the schedule. You go in, you go halfway through your 3-2, like that's a solid way to, you can make a good playoff push from there. And if you know what's coming up in the second half of the thing, and you've got the team to be able to make those switches and those substitutions, that can really make a good second half season for Johnny.
Absolutely, and with teams not needing the full 10 roster, minimum of 8, he could drop off some stuff after the first week or so, just kind of pare down on some of that excess, and maybe that could also help him have a favorable mid-late season with some of the more expensive Pokemon that potentially get dropped as people figure out what they need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any more comments on this one before we step forward?
No, no, I'm good. I'm gonna let you handle this last one.
Well, this is my team. Um, I'm the Frontier Brain Trip, and I'm running the Diamond Domain Time Menders. This year, well, excuse me. Let me go ahead and just get. I guess I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't want to gas myself up. I've been around for a year or so. I've participated in. Frankly speaking, I think I've had A close enough show out in these leagues as, say, Stan and Chan, but I have not had
Mhm.
quite the success to back it up. I've won the League of Bottom Barrel, which was the immediate follow up league to last year's SPDL, which was my third league. The SPDL kind of squeaked into playoffs with the wild card round, and I was ultimately defeated by Ribonator in, I believe, the quarterfinals, and that really that really lit a fire in me. Needed to pop off. Got myself a league win. I've just kind of meandered and generally played around with some stuff, but this year I decided that I really wanted to pare down on some of my weaknesses, and that is I really wanted to have a more balanced draft. Like
Mhm.
I typically either leaned in with too much physical offense, or I was a little too slow, whatnot. I had weaknesses that were exploitable, and I was really trying to cover as many of my bases here. So, with this draft, obviously, as is kind of been the trend with these teams, as we mentioned, we your first few months really dictate, I guess, kind of sort of your game plan. And I needed some breakers. Cartana did a lot of work last year. While Cartana did not win the whole league, Cartana had the most kills, period, out of the league. It was like,
It might still be the all time KOs leader in a regular season. I
which is
know.
insane.
Yeah.
And
I remember that league too. 'Cause I think I was in that league as well, and it was just like, what? Because was that bottom barrel
no,
or
that
was
was
that
actually last SPDL.
the last SPDL? Okay.
Yeah, one of our players, Osteos, ran Cartana, ran double Ultra Beast. Truthfully, there was a lot of offensive pressure in Cartana. Cartana has a very cool speed stat of 109. It's faster than most things. Really juice attack stat of like 181. Nobody wants to switch in on even a neutral hit on this thing, and it with its
Mhm.
potential to get out of hand with Beast Boost, it's definitely one that people are going to have their eyes on. It has paper thin special defenses, pun intended, but there, when you have my game plan, I guess, is with a more balanced draft to kind of cover for the weaknesses for some of these things. You know,
Mhm.
Last year, Landorus Incarnate did some crazy work. It was one of those Pokemon like Deoxys that was like left on the board till the end, and like it was just picked up as a why not, and it also ended up being one of the most standard pop outs. And I have some ideas with this team. I have some synergies and some defensive plays and whatnot, and I'm gonna be as generally coy as I can, so that way, like I mentioned earlier, that everybody has their game plans and their ideas when they build their draft and whatnot, and I'm the only person yeah, that I can speak for as far as this roster goes. But
Mhm.
I think I think that there's some room to improve as well, especially as the season goes on. Not confident in my mega, but I didn't feel like I needed it first.
No, I mean that makes sense, and I think it kind of because I was kind of in this in a similar spot when we get to my team that I was kind of like I'm not too concerned about getting my mega immediately, just because it's like knowing, especially where I was in the draft order, is that like a lot of the like I felt like a lot of the simple this is just an offensive juggernaut type of mega would already be kind of those would be kind of cleaned out by that point. So it's like I feel like I don't want to jump too early on a mega when I could build around. I could get some just really standard non mega mons at effectively a discount because all the other regular mons are going to be a little pricier. But I mean, this team's got. It looks like it's got all you could want. You started off with some really good offensive mons, and then that snow core in the middle too with Ninetales Glalie and Slowking is pretty good too. We're just a solid like 3 mon stack you can bring to any fight and just kind of toss the ball at him and see if someone can answer it.
Absolutely, and same with a lot of people's, or excuse me, I would probably say with everybody's draft at this point. You have some Pokemon that you just know are decent and might be a little bit unassuming. I'm confident in some of the interesting move pool variety as well as ability combos that I found, and I'm also looking to win. I don't have
Right.
past having one league win. I think that my goals for this league is as much as I would love to win. I want to at least be in the top. I want to say I made it this far. Nobody wants to bow out early.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think I know I'm on kind of a redemption arc for myself, both in leagues in general and with last year's SPDL. So I can totally understand. You just gotta take your team and go for it.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and touch on the. Actually, we're going to go ahead and do a part two. I'm going to go ahead and close this recording here. So, for if you were if at the end of this video, which is already an hour and 15 minutes, I appreciate you for sticking around and listening to us go into a little bit more depth than we probably originally intended. But we're really excited to see this league. We're really excited to see just the pure competition, the pop off, and some of the newer players and whatnot who are new in our ecosystem bring a lot of their quirks to the field, and we have a lot of old guard and players who have been very consistent. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Big leagues are always the best. So we'll see. This is our first half of our entrance. So we'll have part two out at some point too with the second half, and tell you what we think.
All right, thank you.